Hello, everyone, and welcome to the July 7th Kubernetes SIG ContribEx biweekly meeting. I'll be your host today, Bob Killen, co-chair of SIG ContribEx. Just as a general FYI, these meetings are recorded and we posted to the internet. We abide by the CNCF Code of Conduct, which essentially boils down to please be excellent to each other. With that, let's kick right into the agenda. No contributor docs upside until the contributor site. So do you just want to comment real quick?
Yeah. So we were working on a script to replace the existing bash script, which brings in content from other repositories into the contributor site. And we have now reached a point where we are able to pick up all the links in the markdown files. And what I wanted to know next was what to replace those links with actually, because these are links which refer to other markdown files. But when we have the actual thing for Hugo, we want them to be real links.
Yeah, I am looking at the code right now, and I will share my screen in just a moment for anyone else that is interested.
Thank you.
Okay. Can folks see it?
Yes, it's very tiny, but yes.
I'll zoom in a bit.
That looks great.
Okay, cool. So just as a quick reminder, this is honestly an awful piece of bash that I wrote to help ingest content from other sites or other repos. And we're working on replacing it with the Go version. To do that, we the link stuff has been sorted out, and now it's just going over how it actually determines if how to update links. That's just testing if there's a match. I need to reread this myself. The first thing that I know that it does is any file that it's touching, it expands any links. So if something is matching, if a link is bug bounty, like this, it will expand to be the full path of what it would be from the root of the repo. Similar thing here. So it's contributor cheat sheet becomes guide contributor cheat sheet if this was content being synced from the community repo.
Is this is the right URL on the right side from the GitHub repo, or from what folks would specify in the YAML file as the destination?
Yes. So if someone is specifying it's the Kubernetes community repo, and we're syncing the bug bounty doc, and any links that it finds that is bug bounty like that, it essentially follows this as if it is a file. If you're at a CLI, and then it's okay, here's the true path of it, and that then it will expand it out and replace it with the expanded path. Well, it doesn't replace it with the expanded path, but at least logs what that path would be. And it's the reason why we have to do it the file way is because there are some things like this that use ... to traverse the repo, as if it was, because that's something Markdown understands. That's not something that HTML or anything else understands. And because this is going to a file that doesn't exist in the directory we're copying over, in this case it's contributor's guide, it maps it out, like it replaces it with the full link like that, because that document is not being copied over and you still want the link to work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so basically like we have the temp_temp folder where we actually cloned it, and like in an _output folder where all the final files are. And what this would do is like transform this dot into the GitHub link for the like original file and replace it with that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It's the same thing here. So it's just like this file is not in the directory that's being in the list of files that's being copied over. So we know if we want to link back to it, we must fully expand it to the full, GitHub link. And the inverse is also true. So it's just like if something is linking to the full path like this instead of a file reference path like that, but it exists in something that we are copying over, then we should swap it out. It's the same thing.
Why should we do this? Like, if it already points to a link, what's the harm?
Because then that would, like, if it's something that's copied to the site, that would take them off the site to the community repo instead of keeping them within the site. Now, to make things more complicated, we also have a shortcut, like a shorthand way that we reference links. You'll see this around. It's like git.k8s.io. And that essentially rewrites URLs so that way you can link to like the contributor guide without having to do the whole blob master whatever in there. And so we have to detect both. And it's why we expand the file paths fully for the links. So that way we can like more easily check to say, like, to see, is this something that I should copy over or not? Yeah.
The expanding the file path seems tricky because like in the current code, when like we are copying it over to the output directory, we do not have like access to the information of the temporary directory. So
for at least expanding the path, we're replacing it with to like just to the root of the repo, the root of the cloned directory, because that is a known thing that we know. And then it essentially like it keeps a map of what the link was and what it should be, and then runs a regex against the doc to replace it with like what it will be. If it helped too, we can go over this. Yeah, so here's where you can see the like where it swaps the like HTML link. But if it helps, we can actually like schedule some one-on-one time. I know you had like mentioned that in chat. I was kind of like mostly out of the office the past 2 days, but we can schedule something and like go over this more in depth if that would help.
Yep, I'll like go through this like and have some rough idea, and then I think it would be helpful if you could hop on a call. Thanks.
Yeah. Is there any other like immediate questions or thoughts that like you have that might help you? Or should
I have some idea. I'll like do some digging around and then shoot back with questions. Thank you.
Go ahead, stop sharing. So I know we kind of dived down that. Does anyone have any other questions or things for the contributor docs subproject? Okay, that will take us over to mentoring. One thing that I do know is that we are still waiting on the StreamYard license to be completed. I pinged Ihor a couple times now about getting that resolved, and I will just continue to bug him to get that paid for at least MOC. I don't think we have any updates regarding Outreachy or the LFX mentorship program. So Allison, do you want to kick in with the new contributor workshop updates?
Hey everyone. So yeah, still need to get those pull requests in, but I have completed all the comments and all the feedback that everyone had. I removed all those excess labels, so this just needs the slash looks good to me in the another review, and I think that should be all good to roll out. I'm not sure. I need to just double check on that right now if there is there isn't any conflicts. So yeah, there isn't any conflicts on the PR, and yeah, that should help like just have a concrete foundation for like all the documentation around how you make a guide, how you structure things. And then the next one to tackle is the one in the website where it's just the basic skeleton of it all. And so people can just PR straight their additions. They can PR their improvements and their written guides into those stubs. And then hopefully we get all this well, we aim to get this workshop material done by KubeCon in it. Like I think that's a good target. It'll be a bit tight, but I think it'll be yeah, that's my update.
Even if we have a first pass there, that should be great.
Even a beta version, like the beta. Yeah.
So any questions, comments regarding the new contributor workshop or mentoring in general? Okay, community management. I don't have anything for the need to know list. The chair TL meeting is tomorrow, but there is actually something I want to highlight in this. I will drop a link to a spreadsheet. I did sort of a deep dive into our new and episodic contributors. And the sort of TLDR is from the 1.14 release, essentially the start of 2019 to now. The rate in which we are getting new contributors to the project has dropped in half. The other thing is this is the same for episodic contributors, those that go sort of 3 or more months between interacting with the project in some form. Now, there's been one interesting stat to go along with this is that we are doing roughly the same amount of work every release. Like it's kind of crazy. It's like it's plus or minus 10 PRs average from 2019 to now. And that's like across all the orgs. I'm just grabbing the spreadsheet now to pull it up. The big thing is that this additional work is actually being picked up by our current contributors. So our current contributors are doing more work overall. Like, I don't know about everyone else, but like, I know I've been feeling pretty burned out, and a lot of other contributors that I've talked to have also been feeling burned out. There's a lot that plays into that. In fact, like there was I think some research that came out, or a paper or whatever that came out not too long ago, that said the majority, of like the workforce right now is feeling burned out. This isn't something I necessarily have a fix, but I at least wanted to like bring this up to everyone on some of these challenges. One other, so it's just like, so this is graphed, this one's graphed over time, but you can see this little big peak in new contributors is right at the time of Hacktoberfest last year. So like this sort of throws out the data a little bit, but it's still like good signal. And this green line here is our average PR workload, like the total number of PRs like completed each release cycle. So again, that is, looks like 110 to 120. So like really not much of a difference, release over release. But our current contributors are definitely picking up more of the work.
We did some like analyzation in OpenStack at some point of like over time, like how many people do the majority of the work. And it's like a little bit scary where I think it's like under 100 people do like 90% of the work or something. But I think that's actually a pattern in a lot of open source communities once they like stabilize.
Yeah.
And like you have a group of like highly involved and like really project aware people that are doing the majority of the work, and it's hard to mentor people up to that point to like help supplement those that like leave the community or like you know, burn out or whatever. So like yeah, burnout's scary. Big problem everywhere.
The other thing, like, and this is sort of like a hot take for me, is that the Kubernetes, I won't say is like past the hype phase, but at this point, like a lot of like vendors and other groups are prioritizing like the other projects that run on top of Kubernetes and not necessarily Kubernetes itself.
Yeah, yeah. You're on the unfortunate crappy part of the hype curve where you're going down to the plateau. But you'll get to the plateau and it'll be great, let me tell you.
The one thing that like a lot of our SIGs do need better like onboarding documentation for themselves. I've talked to a few groups about this, a few other paths on potentially adding more roles to help just give people a leg up and getting started into some of those areas. But my other general thought is like a lot of the SIGs need to prioritize more to like try and avert further burnout. Again, I don't have like a necessary like answer to this or anything like that, but something for folks to like mull over and think about.
There's no silver bullet, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's a combination of efforts to support the community.
Yep.
I was going to say one thing that I've been noticing is people saying they're not really sure how to get acknowledgement up to their superiors in general, like on smaller companies. Maybe larger companies are easier, but a lot of the smaller companies I talk to, it's kind of hard to say like, well, I'm over here doing all of these other things and they're still expected to keep the velocity on the projects they work on during work. I don't know if like, it's kind of hard to like hand out badges or things like that that make it a little more obvious that they're constantly engaged with the community. But I know that's worked in the past at other things I've done, that kind of acknowledgement. So I don't know if that might be something that might help. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been as like part of the problem too is like Kubernetes is so big that like we do contributor awards and things like that, and we gave out like more than 50 last year, and that's still just a tiny part of our overall community. I think some of this goes back to like defining more roles, because if you can say that, hey, I hold this position in an open source project, that is something that a lot of, you know, that's easier for groups to get acknowledgement for.
I know Linux Foundation does, I think if they're called Acclaim is the company, but they do badges, like verified badges for program committees, things like that, that you could put on your LinkedIn. If we already have access to it, maybe.
That is a potential idea. I don't know how much like people actually put into like.
I don't use it, but
Yeah. I originally thought it was like spam. So I like, because like I kept getting notices like add this badge to your profile. And now I'm like, I don't care.
I think like with all things Kubernetes, people would care about this one, right? Like, yes, LinkedIn tries to add more badges as part of their, overall overarching marketing, whatever schemes. But if people could actually say like, listen, I have these responsibilities and duties within the project, that would really help A, their resume, and B, their LinkedIn profile. And it would, give justification to employers like, hey, this is what I do for the community.
That definitely helps for like a while, but it's
Yeah, no,
it fades, let me tell you. And then you have like a bunch of roles that you're then like, oh crap, we need to like consolidate these back down. So like, yeah, it definitely works for a while, but don't sprawl too much, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to manage your own scope.
Yes.
It's like
That's hard.
ContribEx used to have like triage roles, but we don't get enough into like K community to really warrant triage roles. So that just kind of wound up not being abandoned. Where we have some other like really well-defined roles is stuff like the events team. Marketing has, a bit more. So just like, I know a couple other SIGs that could potentially come up with some other ones too.
That reminds me, I can't remember the last time I went to a marketing meeting. No problem.
It's all good. It's a new contributor, vote for a badge. So I actually have something that I cannot say on a recorded call also about this with regard to that. So maybe once this is over.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments at this time regarding community management? Okay. DevStats, Lori's in here. I don't have an update on this one either. There'll be some new dashboards launching soon that is partially blocked on me to write a script to crawl the KK repo for some additional stats, but soon. Anyone have questions regarding DevStats? Okay. Marketing, I don't see Matt or Castle in here, and Chris, you said you haven't been there in a while.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
I got nothing from there.
Yeah. Has anyone else been to a recent marketing meeting? Okay, we will punt that one. GitHub management. I have an update here regarding the Easy CLA migration. For those of you that might not have some of the background context, the LF has been trying to get rid of their current CLA system for some time now, and they rewrote it like from the ground up in a new thing called Easy CLA. But this also involves a fairly large database migration, re-enabling like some other stuff with our CI and a whole slew of things. I did an audit with them, and like a bunch of our org members were not found in the CLA system. So there's been some oops stuff there. And we expanded the scope of the audit out to like PR authors. Something like 800 were missing. And so currently diving down that path with them to try and get all that sorted out before potential migration. Unfortunately, the people that can work on this is also fairly limited because you must be a GitHub admin and you must have access to the easy CLA system. So like there's 3 or 4 people in the project that can really take that one on. So that one's on me at the moment. The one big thing will be once there is something that a new contributor took on recently, and that was updating Prow to be able to support the new CLA plugin. But once that's done, our target time frame for switching over to the new system will be the second week of August, the week of August 9th. So as soon as if the blockers can be unblocked, then that's the goal. There'll be a lot more regarding comms and messaging once that happens. I think that's mostly it, at least regarding GitHub management. Does anyone have any questions about that fun? Okay. Nothing from Slack Infra. That's sort of the rock. Events. Go for it, Laura.
If I can hit unmute on this computer. So I've also been out a little bit, so I'm just kind of getting back and getting reorganized. There's an open PR to update the website and the repo with information about the new format for the community meeting. Also, along with that, Oksana, I think, I'm sorry if I pronounced the name wrong. Hi.
Yeah. Hello.
Yay. Oksana is going to be our host for July, so that's very exciting. And I will be catching up with you either later this week or early next week to kind of get everything organized for that. And there was something else that I had about the community meeting. Hold on. Oh, I am still looking for community meeting recordings for May and June. So if anybody knows Zoom admins or YouTube admins that are not Bob, please like poke them for me because I need them to finish out the postings for the forum. And those probably were the big ones. We were talking about doing a couple of other things just to maybe clean up the community meeting a little bit, but we're going to keep on with the format for a little bit, see if we can start getting some traction. As long as it's regular, I think people will do that. And I need to help follow up regarding the calendar situation, but I know that's kind of a huge thing, but I'm putting myself on the table to help with that effort.
Okay. Yeah, need to create an issue to kick that one off.
Create an issue. Okay, I will create an issue right now.
There is also an initiative, there's an open issue in steering that is semi-related regarding migrating everyone over to Kubernetes managed accounts and being able to automate some of that.
Okay.
Cool.
Oh, so sorry, the ask about the YouTube videos is I need the links for the May and June community meetings. I can't find them in the playlist, so I don't know where I find them.
So
I couldn't find them on the YouTube.
It's okay. They're trapped in Zoom. They have to be
pulled.
Yeah,
I was about to say, yeah, where are they?
Yeah. They are. You have to log in with the Zoom. Like one of the Zoom admins has to log in and grab them and like download the video, and then upload it to YouTube.
I have half that equation. I'm a YouTube admin.
Okay.
Yay! I will bump the thread, which should at you, I think, if you're in that group. So I will bump the thread and we can talk in the Slacks. So.
Okay. Yeah, I like worst comes to worst, like I can grab it later today.
Yeah, but I'm gonna bump up and annoy people. I'm going to bump up and annoy people. But yes, please, and thank you. And I will open up an issue and find the steering issue and try to connect everything.
I can link the steering issue.
Great. But those are the big those are the big things about the community meeting. I need to actually, one thing I do need to do is, and I'm just kind of bookmarking this mentally, I need to kind of work with marketing to figure out a good way to get the word out that the community meeting is happening each month again. I feel like it's kind of we haven't been very good about doing it, mostly because I've been one of those like, oh wait, it's the third week. How did this happen? That happens a lot for me. So I don't know what day it is.
It's okay. COVID time is still impacting everyone. It's just like.
Anyway, yeah. So that's more of a formalization, I guess, to talk with marketing about, but that will happen, I promise. So that's the updates. Any questions, comments, screaming, panic?
Thank you for volunteering.
Right.
To help with the.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
don't worry.
to everything, and except for volunteering to help host the meeting this month.
Yeah. Yay, fun. We will have a lot of fun, I promise. It's lots of fun. And welcome.
It's not too hard. I promise.
Okay.
You'll have a good time. So anyway, back to you, Bob.
Yep. I was hoping Deb would be able to make it by now. She said she'd be like 20 to 30 minutes late. So maybe things are just taking a bit more time. The big thing with the contributor summits is at this point, you know, we've sort of done the pre-work. We are now spinning up the team to actually start handling, like, we're going to schedule the weekly meetings and assembling the team to handle that. I sent an email out to the ContribEx mailing list, and there's an open issue in K community for calling for volunteers. There are some roles for both people that aren't planning on attending, or like being able to attend in person, I should say, and for those that will be there. In terms of compared to our previous contributor summits, this will probably be a lot more lighter weight, just because we honestly have no idea on attendance. I know a lot of companies, it's still kind of like wishy-washy, and other people with like personal risk with the Delta variant.
Oh, and there's an Epsilon variant now too, I read this morning.
Oh boy.
Yeah, fun stuff. Yeah, Red Hat has not updated their guidance yet, and it's getting to the point where it's like, I need to poke somebody, I feel like.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. By the way, for anyone that's submitting a maintainer talk, if you are not planning on being there physically, it must be pre-recorded.
Ouch.
And here is the volunteer thread. Yeah, goal is to get that squared away essentially like 1 week from now, so that way we can then get the doodle poll and all that out. Back to the agenda. The other thing I just want to get in people's minds, it's still a little early, but the steering election that will be happening later this year. There is a conflict with our normal schedule and KubeCon. So there's going to be a, like, we're going to talk about in the steering meeting of whether, like, should the election results happen before or post KubeCon type thing, to try and nail out at least when a beginning and end happens. But that will be, we'll be looking to assemble that team like probably by the end of the month. I think that's it as far as events at this point. Does anyone else have any questions, comments, anything else?
just thank y'all. If you're here, thank you. I mean, that's half the battle, right? So
Open source, it's those that show up. Okay. We're done with events. Are there any other general open mic discussion items that people want to bring up? Okay. Well, we will call it there, and I will go ahead and stop the recording.